In a barren wasteland, a young boy named Wells stood alone, facing a group of strong men with pickaxes. Focusing his energy, he raised his hand, gathering magic in his arm before unleashing a powerful beam that obliterated the rocks before him. The men erupted in cheers, eagerly returning to their work, mining the newly cleared land. Well observed the workers breaking apart stones, and another boy approached, admiring his skill. Even the workers marveled at how the noble count's magic was put to such practical use. Feeling accomplished, Well prepared to call it a day, but his butler, Roderick, requested more help to clear additional land. After hours of work, Well teleported back home, where a group of energetic girls greeted him, teasing him about Roderick treating him like a workhorse. Laughing it off, Well confessed he was used to hard work, recalling his past office job. The comment flew over the girls' heads. They had no idea what he meant. Heading to his room, Wells sighed in frustration. Even after a decade in this strange world, he hadn't fully adjusted. 10 years earlier, Well had been Shingo, an office worker leading a mundane life. One night, while preparing a late meal, he dozed off, waking in an unfamiliar setting. The food before him wasn't what he had prepared, and the reflection in a nearby plate was not his own. He had transformed into a child in a foreign world. Sounds of musicians playing filled the air. He realized he was at a wedding celebration. At first, he thought he might have traveled abroad, but everyone spoke Japanese. Wondering if it was a vivid dream, he closed his eyes, hoping to wake up. An old man stood before him, instructing him to introduce himself to the guests. Overwhelmed, Shingo hesitated until an older boy named Eric stepped in, introducing him as Wendelin von Benno Baumeister, or Well for short. Eric explained that today was their eldest brother Kurt's wedding, marrying Emily, the second daughter of Sir Mainbach. Their father had struggled to find a suitable match for Kurt, so Emily's agreement was a huge relief. Well realized they were nobility, but as he looked around at the grand feast, he began to feel that being noble came with its own challenges. The following morning, breakfast placed before Well was hard, dry bread and thin soup. His family seemed unfazed, happily eating away. Scanning the room, Well noticed peeling wallpaper, fading paintings, and a rickety table. Curious, he confronted Eric about their situation, only to learn the sad truth. They were extremely poor. The lavish wedding was a facade to avoid appearing miserly. Well was stunned. He thought being a noble would at least mean some comfort. Eric casually mentioned that 2 brothers couldn't make it to the wedding, leaving Well to process that he was the 8th son. It dawned on him that his parents must have had a busy life behind closed doors. Determined to understand this new world, Well learned about the kingdom of Helmet, with its capital Stutberg. His family lived in the rural Baumeister Nidam, and being the 8th son in such an isolated area filled him with worry about his future. Well's uncertainty grew when he noticed his 3 brothers bidding their mother farewell. Eric explained they were leaving for good. Their family's lands couldn't be split, so Hermann was set to marry into a branch family, leaving Well to carve out his path. Determined, he headed to the family library to plan. Unfortunately, the library contained only poetry and romance novels. While putting the books back, Well accidentally knocked over a box and found a slip of paper and a strange crystal ball. The note explained the crystal measured one's magical potential. Intrigued yet skeptical, he placed the crystal ball on the desk and attempted to channel his mana into it, but nothing happened. Just as Well expected, there was no reaction, but he kept the idea of magic in mind. Suddenly, the crystal ball erupted with a bright glow. Far away in the forest, a long-haired man sensed something unusual and paused to scan the surroundings. Back in the library, Well remained frozen, stunned by the reaction. He quickly grabbed the paper, searching for an explanation. The paper revealed that if the crystal glowed like a rainbow, the person had high magical potential. Eager to unlock this newfound ability, Well searched for magic guides, but all he found were novels. His father entered the library, looking for him, and Well asked about more books. His father admitted he couldn't read and that their collection was limited to this room. Reluctantly, Well went into the forest to gather firewood. Deciding to test his magic, he gripped a stick, but nothing happened. Frustrated, he slumped to the ground. Suddenly, a voice broke the silence. Looking up, Well saw a man with long hair descending from the sky. The man smiled and introduced himself as Alfred Rainford, a former court magician for the Bleichroder dukedom. Well was terrified and waved his stick in a futile attempt to scare the stranger. Alfred chuckled and explained he was a magician. With a flick of his wrist, he tossed Well's stick aside. Suddenly, a large boulder, knocked loose from a nearby cliff, crashed down, landing on a wild boar. The enraged boar charged up the cliff, mistaking them for its attackers. Panicking, Well tried to run, but Alfred held him back. "Focus," he urged, guiding Well's hands toward the charging boar. Overwhelmed, Well let out a cry, but Alfred remained calm, instructing him to imagine the flow of mana through his body. A faint green glow began to surround them, and Well finally felt the magic gathering. With a burst of wind, he sent the boar stumbling back. But the beast was not defeated and charged again. Before it could lunge, Alfred easily threw the boar aside, turning to Well with a smile. "Relax," he said. "I'm Alfred Rainford, once a court magician for the Blycroder dukedom.